Alright guys, quick video about how to understand the Glock 18 system, understanding all the resistance points. So I'm going to skip over a couple of basic stuff. We'll only be focusing on why this happens. On why there appears to be an area that sort of kicks the slide, that sort of jams up the slide, that sort of, it's I don't know what you call it. Basically something feels like it's holding the slide back until you apply more pressure, cock it back, and the Glock works again. So I'm going to explain what that issue is. Now, in order to understand that, you must first understand how your Glock 18 behaves. Every single time, whenever you pop your Glock 18 slide off of your Glock 18c system, your Glock 18c sear will always disengage the hammer. Now this is the disengaged position. This is the engaged position, okay? So the reason why I'm telling you this right now is because whenever the Glock 18 sear is disengaged, the rotor will appear to be significantly higher. This makes people worry a lot because since the rotor is so high, it'll get caught in the slide. This is not the reason as to why your slide's getting jammed out. I'll explain why that is in a second. Note this is how your Glock 18c is supposed to work. It's supposed to sit even lower. Can you see now that it's sitting lower? Because the Glock 18c sear is now engaged. That's how your Glock 18 works. Okay, so don't worry about it. If your this sear has to disengage when your slide comes out, and that's the reason why the rotor is higher. So don't worry about it being higher. That's normal. Now, however, when you actually have your slide on everything, what happens is that normally, start by kicking that, and it will actually push the rotor like this. That's how it starts. That's how it actually starts to push the hammer. It does not push the rotor like this, it pushes it like this. Exactly the same way as a guns modify hammer. And then as it pushes it up to a certain point, this first click that you hear is the trigger sear. That's very, very normal. It happens on a Glock 17 as well. You will notice that this corner is still up here. This corner is the reason why you have your resistance point. Now, you must be asking why that is. Why is this rotor still up? The reason why this rotor is still up, and the reason why this rotor is still up this high, is because it needs it for the Glock 18c sear. Notice what happens if I keep pushing it with that corner. Okay, notice that it's still up. And notice, now it's gone. It has to do this because that corner was the extra push that you needed for your hammer in order for your Glock 18c sear to work. That's the reason why you have that first resistance point. That resistance point is very, very hard to get rid of. You will also notice that this corner, that the way this behaves, it's a lot like a guns modify hammer. That's the reason why whenever a guns modify hammer, even though you have a guns modify 0 hammer, it will still feel like that there's a resistance point whenever you pull your slide back. It's because it uses this corner in order to cock the hammer. You will also notice that if you don't believe me, you will actually notice that a guns modify 0 hammer will always have the rotor. Will always have. Sorry, I turned on my light. Will always have this part of the corner worn out. The reason why the guns modify hammer always wears out at this point is because it behaves exactly like this. It uses this corner to lock the hammer, and there's a lot of pressure here, and that's the reason why it wears out. For some particular reason, I don't know why, Stark Arms and Tokyo Marine Glock 18, their stock rotors are already very, very good, and they actually last a very, very long time. In fact, I've never even heard of anyone stripping them completely. So, now that you understand how it all works, let me give you guys a couple of tips on how to fix this. Sanding this down will not work. The reason why that is because you will actually change the shape of that. So if I sand down this side, it will look more like this. And therefore, when you have it here, this corner that you see here will look a little bit more like this. But keep in mind, this corner, this area over here, also it's gone. So it just becomes a little bit like this. And what happens is that you have less area over here to contact the blowback housing unit, and therefore, when this happens, your Glock 18c sear may not engage. If your Glock 18C sear does not engage, your slide will get caught on the rotor. Will your Glock still function? Yes. Will it function reliably? Definitely not. And it might not even return back into battery properly. So I'm going to tell you right now that sanding the rotor is not the way to solve it. I learned this the hard way, so trust me on that. So the tip that I have for you is that polish everything in here to make sure that the hammer moves smoothly. The goal is to make this pressure point as small as possible. And also, the second thing you can do is lighten your hammer spring. A Stark Arms will have a harder hammer spring. Now, if you don't, this can be explained through another way. A stock Tokyo Marui Glock 18C will feel like it goes back quite quickly. The reason why is because it has a significantly lighter hammer spring relative to Stark Arms. So that's the reason why the Stark Arms feels pretty stiff, is because if you put your finger on here right now, it's actually very, very stiff, very, very tough. You can't see this on camera, but there is a little bit of a red spot on my finger. It's actually very, very stiff. So that's the reason. Why that's how you solve those problems in general. Now, I know this is not a very, very good tip, but that's the best way to do it. I will tell you right now that it really, really does in fact need this corner in order for it to do that, because this is what allows the Glock 18C to have a special feature where when it goes back, it does not feel anything almost, except for this. It does feel that. This is actually the second resistance point on your Glock 18C sear, which we will not talk about today, because this video is already long enough as it is. So, hope this video helps you a little bit. Helps everyone a little bit, hopefully, and maybe this helps you understand the Glock a little bit better. Just be very, very wary that not to sand this rotor down, because this rotor is almost non-replaceable. Okay, so I'm going to tell you right now, if you wish to sand it, do so at your own risk. But it's almost non-replaceable ever. So yeah, just be careful of that. So anyways, guys, happy shooting. Peace.